Now we continue to look into that major drug bust at a home in Carrollton. This afternoon, 2 people are in the Dallas County Jail after investigators say they conspired to distribute fentanyl-laced pills to teenagers. 3 teenagers died, 6 others were hospitalized. According to court documents now, Luis Navarrete and Magali Mejia Cano worked out of a house near Carrollton schools. Carrollton police identified 8 juveniles who they say were also involved in dealing those drugs. This has been a shock for a lot of parents, of course, at those schools that were affected, and even at schools that weren't affected by this specific case, just because it was so deadly and caused so many problems for other kids too. It can be really difficult, we know, to talk to your kids about drugs, especially with everything that they see on social media these days. It's not easy to know everything that they are getting into and everything that they are hearing. So we're bringing in an expert this afternoon to offer some tips that might help with this. Joining us is Dr. Brad Schwall, the president and CEO at the Center for Integrative Counseling and Psychology. Dr. Schwall, thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about this talk, because this is a difficult one that a lot of parents have to have with their kids, and they have to have it, perhaps over and over again, especially as their kids, continue to age and meet new challenges in schools. I think that something that may have surprised some people in this particular situation is that we had the involvement of even middle school kids. I mean, these are really young kids that we're talking about here. And so it appears that that talk needs to happen pretty early on.
Most definitely, and we never can assume that our child is immune from the risk of trying drugs, of experimenting, and then certainly the danger with fentanyl is the fact that the dosages are so powerful and the drugs that are laced with it so inconsistent, and so one pill can lead to death. And so yes, we must start at a young age and have a relationship, have structure that helps us to stay in tune with what is happening in our child's life. And for sure, that begins in those preteen years and on into middle school and for sure into high school.
And again, Dr. Schwall, we have no idea, in some cases what our kids have, heard from other kids, or maybe some of the things that they've seen on social media. There's a lot of glorification of a lot of this stuff, or it's made to sound like it's really not that big of a deal. Everybody's doing it. What sorts of things do you recommend to people as far as being able to talk to their kids about this kind of stuff and to kind of break through some of that noise and to have credibility with their kids?
Well, it does start beyond just the issue of drugs. There is such a stigma about mental health. Drugs are used. Certainly, kids are going to be impulsive. They're going to experiment. But drugs are also used to self-medicate, to cope with problems. So we must be in tune with the mental health of our children first. And then we must talk. We must be open ourselves. We must communicate about the danger, about the risk at hand. That still doesn't solve everything. We must have structure, parameters, boundaries, so that we do know what's happening in our children's lives. It is scary because teenagers, adolescents, naturally withdraw. They're individuating, and that is good and to be expected. But the danger comes when we are too removed from their lives and we aren't in tune with what is happening. That can lead to more risky behavior and us not being aware of what is happening. But it is difficult because kids, we can't control everything they do, but the more safeguards we put in place, the more awareness we have, I believe it does create layers of protection.
Dr. Schwall, before we let you go, I also want to ask you about, these specific schools that were involved here. I mean, we had young people who died because of what happened here, others who were hospitalized, maybe some others who, could be facing justice in this case. What do you recommend as far as people talking to their kids about, what has happened at their schools there, whether they knew these kids, personally or very closely or not? This can be an unsettling thing, something that, these kids don't experience every day.
So it is an important opportunity to ask what they know, what they have heard. I appreciate what you said earlier. Sometimes behavior actions like this can be glorified, sadly. So make sure that that is not happening. talk in detail, as particularly with older adolescents, about what happens so that they can see how this does happen. That it doesn't matter whether the adolescent thinks they know the source. These drugs are dangerous and unpredictable. So emphasizing in these communities, in all of our communities, that risk that they are taking. And certainly, and you know I always share this, just the importance of looking at the overall well-being of our kids, the communities around them, and how we do talk about mental health every day with our kids. Because that lays a foundation. So this is an opportunity to talk about the danger, to talk about the risks, but I do think it's an opportunity to focus on our relationship with our kids, to build up as much a strong foundation for them as possible. Because again, this can happen to any of our kids at any given time. We never can believe that our kids are going to be immune.
Some important words there. And of course, we're always thankful to have you on here with us talking about mental health as well. Brad Schwall, President and CEO at the Center for Integrative Counseling and Psychology. Thanks as always for being with us.
Thank you.